Hey everybody, it's Georgia Rose, and I am here in the Zencuda Soul Space, Monday at 7 o'clock. I'm here every Monday. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Welcome everybody. So I have my little monitor here, and I can see who's on, and I'm just going to take a look and see if there's anybody in the Soul Space so far. And it looks like people are definitely coming in. So I want to welcome everybody to the Soul Space. And this is a show that is about life beyond the five senses. You never know what's going to happen here in the soul space. We take live calls, and we also have guests sometimes. On the 21st, I'm going to be having Dr. John Vassallo. He is a licensed massage therapist who specializes in Reiki and all kinds of healing modalities. So make sure you join me for that. And also on Wednesday, March 1st, I think it is, we're going to be March 2nd, Wednesday, March 2nd, we're going to be doing a live Zoom. The info is actually on my page, Zencuda Soul Space. And if you want to join us, you can either PM me or you'll see the web address for the Zoom link in the page on Facebook. So welcome everybody once again, and I am just going to go over here and look at my comments and see who's on, say hi to everybody. I know you're all anxious to hear about the November astrology. Hey Janine, hey Sarah, hey Ann, hey Joanne, hey Monica. I always feel like Romper Room, but for those of you youngins out there, you don't know what that is. So couple of things I'm going to ask of you, since I give my time every week, and I'm so grateful for all of you that join me. I would love it if you could share the show, if you're comfortable doing that, and putting out the beautiful energy that we have in the Zencuda community to everyone. You never know who the show is going to touch or who needs to be hearing about some energy tonight. And so before we really jump into things, I would really love it if we could all just take a deep breath. My producer Bobby and I just did that before we went live, and just kind of center a little bit, because this energy in the last, I would say, hour or so that came in is really wonky. It's got me like feeling kind of uncomfortable and cranky, and we all know that I don't want to be like that on the show. So let's send each other love and center a little bit, just kind of fully arrive and be present here for this next hour that we can spend time together and really feel each other's love and compassion out there. And just get that into your heart center, breathe in a little bit. Maybe you're focusing on a green or pink kind of a light that would come into your heart center. And just breathe as though you can breathe through that beautiful heart center in your chest for a few moments. And feel that calm, that love, that peace. And then if you all could just send some of that out to the world, Ukraine, Russia, people here who live in our country, and just let it ripple all over the world for peace and joy and compassion to everyone, because I just feel like we really, really need that right now in a big way. So if we could do that, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me in that little moment. I think those moments are precious, and I think that that's what actually can heal and change the world, if we keep allowing ourselves to stay in that beautiful energy of love. So you can find me, not just here in the Soul Space on Mondays at 7, but you can find me on Facebook at Zencuda Soul Space. You can find me on Instagram at Zencuda Official, and of course on the web at zencuda.com. If you like and you hear what I do and say on my show and you want to have a personal reading with me, you can book that on zencuda.com. Love to share and connect some space with you. So if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll never miss a show, because we load all of the Soul Space shows onto YouTube afterwards, and you'll get a notification that there's a new show on there. There's also a lot of videos on there, not just the Soul Space videos. So I'd like to talk about a couple of world events before we jump into the March astrology. There's always that elephant in the room that, we're having some unrest in the world, and we all see it, we all know it. Although I don't really participate a lot in media. I censor my media quite a lot. I couldn't help but see everything that was happening this past week and over the weekend. So my answer for a lot of the energies is that I always go to the astrology. Even though that's not my main gift, let's say. My main gift is I am a psychic intuitive and I do mediumship work. But I actually use the astrology charts to do that. They're a gateway for me into the souls. And this past week, I actually put up something about Putin's astrology chart on my Facebook page. And I have to say, it was a very interesting chart. And then today I just had like a quick peek at Biden's chart. I just was curious. And I've looked at his chart quite a few times before during elections and things like that. And I will say, just astrologically speaking, comparing the two charts, that right now with the transits that are going on, Mr. Putin, his chart is much stronger than that of our president here in the United States. The way these transits are coming out, they're actually squaring some really important planets in Joe Biden's chart, which is a energy of tension, and they're coming into a place in Putin's chart, which is giving him strength, or at least the illusion of strength. Okay, we're seeing a lot of illusion in his chart. He's really being driven by Pluto and Plutonian energy, and it's so interesting how that fits into all the astrology we've been talking about since 2020, and we're going to talk about that tonight. But first, I just want you to realize and wrap your brains around one thing, and that is that the energy happening right now in the world is not new energy. This is the continuation of the energy that's been in flow since the beginning of 2020. And we all know the beginning of 2020, we sound like a broken record. That's going on in the world is this polarity between freedom and control. We all see that. We see it playing out in our own lives. We see it playing out in the world stage around us. This is a continuation of this energy. And never was that more prominent for me. I actually, like I said, don't watch a lot of media, but I happened to catch this video over the weekend of a Ukrainian woman who her apartment windows had been blown out, or there was glass all over. And she was sweeping the glass up and just humming very calmly the Ukrainian national anthem. And it really struck me because it was almost like a movie right before my eyes, playing out exactly what all of this is about. And when I say all of this, I don't just mean the Ukraine-Russian conflict. I mean what's going on in the world right now. And so what I got from that was, here's this very centered, very compassionate, you could feel her compassion, loving woman who is almost appears unruffled by these bombs going off around her and her possessions being shattered. And she's just cleaning it up and humming the national anthem for her country. And you could see that she was very centered in love for her country, love for her people. You could just feel that. I was almost reminded of the energy of Joan of Arc that I very fiercely align with, because sometimes I think about Joan and not just that, aggressive warrior-like energy that she had, but riding into a crusade and being so fiercely loving and protective of your people. That fierce, loving energy. And so I watched the video and I felt that. I really just felt that energy coming through. And then I saw the juxtaposition of the Russian army and what Putin is trying to use as a source of energy, which is might is right, squashing freedom at all costs, complete control, right? Against this little backdrop of this soul woman who is feeling freedom in her heart, even while cleaning up the glass of war, the spoils of war. And so never have I ever felt such a strong polarity between freedom and control, and so reminded that it's all really in our mind and spirit and soul where we're free, right? So it was just a really interesting little video snapshot, and in being the observer and dropping down into that observer mind, the things that we see that we miss when we're not in that observer mind, when we're in the hustle and bustle of the day and the distractions, and we miss the real subtle shifts and the real messages that Spirit, God, Creator, whoever you want to call Him in your life, really shows us when we're in challenge. So this is a domino effect left over from that January 2020 hubbub that's coming in through the astrology, through the cosmos, through the stars. And basically it's, do you want to be right or do you want to be love? That's what I'm going to ask you. Do you want to be right or do you want to be love? I want to be love. I don't need to be right. As long as I have a good relationship with myself and whoever's above us, I think I'm pretty good. So one of the things that's actually really interesting that I saw in Putin's chart also was his North Node, which you guys know I talk about a lot. The North Node of our moons is our destiny. Wherever that North Node is in your chart is really what your soul has been incarnated to do. And right now we're seeing Saturn, which is the planet of authority and karma and time and limitations, is actually transiting over Putin's North Node. So whether it's the accuracy of the karma or whether it is an illusion in his mind, there is no doubt in my mind that he thinks this is his destiny. And so that is not a man who will be easily stopped. So the other thing I want to say about this energy as we go into talking about the March energy now is we have a couple of things that are going to be in play for a lot of this year. First of all, Pluto's in charge for a while. Even though we have some movement away from his energy, which I'll get to in a few minutes, Pluto is still very much in charge. And wherever Pluto is in your chart, that's going to aspect something in your life, in that house, in that place. Pluto is in Capricorn right now, so if you look for where Capricorn is in your chart, you've probably had a lot of touch and go, a lot of upheaval, a lot of challenge. Or if you've been working on reconciling that challenge, a lot of rewards and a lot of energy shifts in your life these last couple of years. Uranus is in Taurus. It will be there for several more years. And that's a destabilizing influence for us right now. That is a destabilizing influence in the sense of sudden unexpected shifts. It's also very much playing out in the ecology, environment, structure of our planet. This is going to cause sudden shifts in volcanic energy, earth shifts. It'll also create solar storms, large coronal masses. I expect that from the Uranus energy that we have, which is destabilizing, because there are planets that are going to be touching that energy and meeting that planet this year. And then we're going to have all of this causing one thing, which is you're seeing already, okay? I don't think I've ever seen a country, getting back to the current conflict with Ukraine and Russia, I don't think I've ever seen a country so unbelievably committed in present day to defending themselves when the odds are so incredibly against them. And that is something that I truly believe is a shift of consciousness, because I don't know about all of you. I guess it depends on, when you were born and your age. But in my lifetime, I see more on the news these long lines of refugees fleeing than I see people staying in their homes with a rifle or a gun. So this is a shift of consciousness. This is the people who are defending their territory and standing up for their beliefs in a way that's extremely unique, extremely in line with the future of their country. So that's really Aquarian energy. And we have Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces, which is also being affected by that Aquarian energy because Saturn is in Aquarius. And so it's this Aquarian, Piscean, new age, new unique way of thinking, connecting with a deeper source in order to do something differently. And I think that video with the woman cleaning up the glass really emulates that. This, again, we're still in the energy. I know it sounds like old shoes, but we're still in the energy since 2020, January 2020, of hold on to old or shift into new ways of being. And we can see that the people holding on to the old are really getting a beating, whether it's in your personal life or the Russian army. They're trying to hold on to beliefs. Putin's trying to hold on to beliefs, and he really didn't expect to have the resistance he's having. So you're seeing right before your eyes, acted out globally, the juxtaposition of the crumbling of the old and the new trying to come in. Are we going to open and allow it to come in, or are we going to hold on to a past that no longer serves us? Really interesting the way this is playing out. And then, of course, these extreme changes of consciousness are also happening. Uranus in Taurus is also amplifying we talk about the Schumann resonance a lot on this show, the heartbeat of the earth, the way the earth is reacting to things. This is truly about the weakening of the electromagnetic fields on our planet. And so we're absorbing more light, higher consciousness, more light. The species is evolving, right? I'm actually writing a book about that currently. So it's all part of the same story, all part of the same story. And as this plays out, I will tell you, in our own country, we have the Pluto going into, United States going into its Pluto return, which is usually a very big shift in the way that we structure and run our government. And it's happening at a time when President Biden has planets in Scorpio. He has many planets in Scorpio. And I think he has Mars, Mercury, and Venus in Scorpio. And all of that is actually being opposed right now, or squaring, I should say, by Saturn, which is your karma, your authority. The same planet that is squaring those things in Biden's chart is actually amplifying them in Putin's. So what we're going to see, just even, dissected from that Ukrainian issue, the Russian issue, just in our country alone, this will probably be a very challenging year for Joe Biden, even more so than we've seen. He's a Sagittarius rising. He may have some health issues. Um, and that's just what the chart is showing. So just putting that out there. The transits that are happening in his chart are usually a weakening aspect for a person. So now let's get into the March astrology. I know you guys are feeling this energy building, aren't you? Okay, do I have comments here? What do you guys think? Hey, Jacqueline. And I got Pauline. Hey, Pauline. If anybody wants to call in, we will open the phone lines. You can call in anytime. This is a real casual show, so if you want to do that tonight, you can. So March astrology, big player in the sky is still Pluto. We've got that Plutonian energy coming in. But this month, it's a little bit different, and I'm going to explain. Now, first thing I want to tell you guys about March is it's going to be a super busy month astrologically. There's a lot of crapola going down, and it can be used for our expansion and to raise our consciousness. But what I will tell you is this month is going to feel like time is really speeded up. We're going to have a tendency to want to speed things up ourselves. And it's also going to feel like everything is just moving faster and is busier. Even if that's not actually the reality, it's going to feel that way. And one of the reasons for that is because Venus and Mercury start to really go through the sky fast. Mercury especially, the planets are all out of retrograde right now. Mercury starts to fly through the zodiac. And Mercury is the messenger. It's communication. The depiction of the god of Mercury has those wings, right? So you're going to see a lot of things really pick up speed now. So today, what happens is Venus is meeting Mars in the sky right at the end of February. And this makes Mars move faster as well. Everything's out of retrograde. It's picking up speed. Mars is actually moving faster than Venus right now. So it's going to start hitting some planets before Venus does. And what happens this month is we have some final conjunctions. A conjunction is when two planets meet in the sky. To Pluto, that big player that's been causing all of this energy since January of 2020. The great Pluto-Saturn conjunction brought in the coronavirus and political unrest and racial unrest. All this stuff we've been going through has really been at the root of Pluto. What does Pluto do? Pluto comes into our life via transit, or either a good energy, a calming, benevolent energy with some transits, or in an energy of tension. It's been mostly in an energy of tension in the last 2 years. And what that does is it actually comes into our life and shows up as transformation. Transformation sometimes in a very deep way. Like this isn't transformation like my car broke down and I got a new one. This is transformation like deep cathartic things, deep endings that have been with you for a very long time, relationships that are long-term end, maybe a job that you've been doing for a long time has a shift, maybe you move where you live, depending on where this is, what house in your chart. But this is deep, deep transformation. And the reason why all these things happen via a Pluto transit is basically so that it opens us for something new. It's the dark night of the soul. It's the spiritual awakening. And that's been combined with the planet Uranus, which is the great awakener. So that's why we have all this energy coming into play. And what's happened with so many retrogrades over the last 18 months is this energy keeps repeating, because as planets slow down and other planets go faster, they meet each other again and again in the sky. A typical retrograde, a planet will meet a point for 3 times. That's why the old adage is everything comes in threes. Believe it or not, a lot of the things that we do say and believe got their origins in astrology. So on a retrograde, a planet will start at a certain degree, move forward, then move back over that degree, and then move forward again. So it reaches a degree 3 times, or if there's a planet at that degree or anything in that degree to be aspected, it does it 3 times. Remember that, because that's going to come in a couple of minutes. So Venus meets Mars today, but Mars moves faster than Venus, so it's the first one to conjunct Pluto. So what's happening this month in Capricorn is that Pluto planet that's been causing all this muck for the last 2 years, he gets aspected and touched by a lot of other planets. As Pluto sits there up in the zodiac, the planets go past him. And every time they go past him, we get shook a little bit. Hi, you're on the Soul Space with Georgia Rose. Hello.
Oh, hi. I didn't know you picked up right away. I thought I'd be holding.
Yeah, I finished a sentence. I said, I'll go for it. How are you? Who am I talking to?
I didn't know you could see me on the board, even if I didn't, make a comment in Facebook or whatever.
Oh, okay. Who is this? Is this Pauline Brenner?
Yes.
It is you. I recognize the voice now.
I call as soon as you say you can call, and I hear you say it, and I just
How'd
do
your
it.
week go, Pauline? Did you feel this energy or what?
Oh my goodness, I had some shadow week. Oh boy, yesterday I went through a lot of fear, but it was just stuff that I was
That's
releasing,
Pluto.
and I should have just let it pass. No, I had to go dig into it, and I really felt it. I'm like, oh my God, why did
No,
I
that's
do
good you
that?
dug into it. There's gold in that.
No, but I didn't have to hold on to it. That's what I was doing, examining it and
Right,
going in it.
right.
Like, I didn't think I needed to
Well,
do
you
that. I
called
could
at the
just let it
perfect
go, and that would
time
have been
because I was just explaining
okay.
about Pluto, and it
Yeah.
sounds like you had a Pluto experience. And so the reason why
And
that
I
happened,
think in one of my charts, I know you don't like me telling you about the other charts, but the chart that I can only look at is the one that I had made sidereally, and it said in my 8th house was where my Jupiter was. I mean, where my Pisces was. And then somebody mentioned the 8th house being the shadow. I don't know why they said that's the shadow. Maybe because Pluto, is that Pluto? No, 8? It's Scorpio, right?
yeah, the eighth house is usually ruled by Scorpio, not in your chart, obviously, but that is
Right.
deep
But that,
transformation. So that's ruled by Pluto. But if Pisces is in your 7th house, then
okay, yeah,
Capricorn
in your system, yes, I know.
Capricorn would probably be your fifth.
Yeah, it definitely has to do with relationship. It's true. It's both. I know. You told me just settle with one. I can't. I'm very multidimensional. I can't help it.
There you go. So did you have a question
Okay.
tonight?
Yes. Well, yeah. I was going to ask. Now that is Jupiter also in with Pisces right now? So does that mean I was told that Pisces has something to do with viruses and bacteria and all that kind of stuff, or something like that. And that if Jupiter is in there, that means it's expanding, but the COVID is going down.
Right.
So that
So
doesn't explain anything. It doesn't make sense then.
so
You didn't say it. But I'm just
no,
asking
no.
from you.
So Pisces is not virus and pandemic. I think probably what they were referring to was the last time Jupiter had transited Pluto was when we had viruses, and I believe it was the AIDS epidemic. And prior to that, it was the Spanish
Oh,
flu. So a lot of astrologers
Pluto.
believe
Okay.
that when Jupiter hits Pluto, it can be pandemic. And that has been proven
That's
over the
what it was.
years. But what I will tell you is, since you asked, and we're going to talk a little bit about your Pisces house, you have Jupiter in Pisces, and this year Jupiter is in Pisces, and it is going to be transiting Neptune as well there. So the date that
Yes.
you need to watch out for is April 12th. Because April 12th, and everyone write down April 12th, April 12th will be a very large shift in spiritual communication and connection. April 12th, when Neptune and Jupiter meet each other up in Pisces, it has not happened for over 160 years. And if you were born in this time to experience that in your chart, it would probably be your Jupiter return. And in that case, that would be happening for you every 13 years. But the fact that it's also meeting up with Neptune now at a 160-year transit means that you were incarnated to experience that in your lifetime. So what I will say to you is there is some kind of a spiritual shift or awakening that is more likely to occur in your life around that April 12th date. It is also more likely to occur for all of us wherever Pisces is in your chart. Pisces happens to be my 3rd house, which is the house of communication. So I've been really doing some deep meditations to prepare myself that I'm probably going to get a very deep spiritual communication around that time frame. So that is almost like after April 12th, we're going to feel a lot of energy shift. And that's where it comes in almost like a spiritual tsunami, because Pisces is connection. But the thing about Pisces, if you even just study the archetype and you look at the symbolism of Pisces, which is the fish, a lot of people think that Pisces is connection, and it is. But if you look at the fish and the Pisces symbol, they're going in opposite directions. Why is
Like
that?
duality. It reminds me of duality.
Right. It's duality, and it's also to remind us that we have to connect with ourself as well as other realms and spirit. And so a lot of times when you go to a Christian church or a Catholic mass or a Greek Orthodox church or some of the older European churches, you'll see what looks like the symbol of Pisces in a lot of their artwork and their windows and things like that. And that is because back in the what we call the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages, it was thought that no one could speak to God except a priest. So the symbolism of the fishes going in opposite directions were kind of used as symbolism to show mankind that you can't connect, but someone higher above and divine can connect with divine. Now we know everyone can connect with the divine. So the real lesson of Pisces is that you can connect. You should do your deep dive, but don't forget to come up for air, because you can get stuck going
Wow.
one way as opposed to the other way.
Thank you. That was a great reading.
Yeah.
The one
And
you
that's for
shared with
everybody who has
everybody.
We all have Pisces somewhere in our chart in some house. That is the work that you must do for that particular house. That is the life lesson of Pisces. Dive deep,
Okay,
but come
thank
up for
you.
air, because Pisces have a
Okay.
tendency to connect and connect so deeply that they stay in the one connection, whether that's martyrdom or victimhood, or whether it's connection with divine or a certain thing. They become only going in that direction. You have to be in communion with yourself and spirit.
I think I'm going to merge the duality into oneness. That'll be
Right.
fun.
That's exactly the lesson. You got it. Thank you for
Thank
calling
you.
in. You're welcome. So it's funny because that conversation, so divinely timed, was very much an explanation of Pluto as well. Because the reason why Pluto gives us all these life challenges, and some people will come to me for a reading and they'll be like, I hate Pluto. And I'm like, oh, you should never hate Pluto. You should embrace Pluto and have gratitude for him. Because in the end, he teaches us, even though something has to die to be transformed, in the end, it does so that we can reach a higher level of consciousness and use our life better and have a well-used life. So Pluto is great energy. It's just going through it. It's like passing through the eye of a needle. It's like birthing a baby. When the baby comes, it's great. But when you're in labor, it's not so great. That's Pluto. So around this new moon on March 2nd, I have to tell you guys, this is going to be huge energy coming in. This new moon is extremely... and I know I say this about a lot of energy, but this really is an event. March 2nd is really an event. We're already feeling this energy build up. And I'm going to specifically tell you what this energy is. There's so much happening in the zodiac around this new moon that we're all going to feel shifts and we're going to feel a lot of different things. So I'm going to run it all down for all of you guys as simply as I possibly can. Okay? Oh, yeah, Elaine, you're a Pisces. We've been talking about this. Elaine's in the comments. Have been having such an elevation when you, around April 12th, I don't know, baby, you better put some lead in your bag. So anyway, this March 2nd moon. Now, what I want to say to you guys, it's been so dry lately. What I want to say to you guys is, whatever energy starts to come into play in the next couple of days and couple of days after this new moon on March 2nd in Pisces, whatever energy shows up for you, that's a glimpse. It's a foretelling of what's going to happen around April 12th, because it's starting off the energy already with that little glimpse into Pisces there. So we have a new moon in Pisces. Now, March 2nd, we also have Mercury in Aquarius and Saturn in Aquarius meeting. They're only about 7 degrees apart. This is the energy that's on Putin's North Node. So it's going to be really interesting to see over the next few days how this new moon comes into play with the world events. In our own life, this Mercury and Saturn coming together in Aquarius, that is communication. Mercury is the planet of communication with karma, with authority, with limitations. We may feel like we can't communicate well, like our communication is limited. This could also be something that is very much, Saturn is in Aquarius, and that's futuristic, that's science, that's the internet. So when I look at that, I kind of do get a little worried about all these talk about cyber attacks. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I will say that the chart kind of speaks to that, especially when we've got it happening on a new moon. The day after the new moon, where the new moon is in Pisces, on the new moon we have Mercury meeting Saturn in Aquarius, which is communication meeting limitation, communication meeting futuristic goals, communication something unique. It is authority, lessons. Saturn also separates what's no longer necessary, and in Aquarius, that's all about the internet. So it's just really, to me, something fluky that day. So back up all your stuff. But then the next day, we have something really historic happening. And what happens is from March 2nd, we have that new moon. We have the conjunction with Mercury, Saturn. And then the planets start to hit that Pluto in Capricorn. And remember, I said that Pluto is running the show, and every time a planet goes past it or touches it in some way, it It gives us another one of those energy bursts that we've been feeling over the last, 2 years. So we've got the new moon. We've got Mercury meeting Saturn, something with the internet, communication, limitation, whatever. In Aquarius, which is futuristic, science, etc. Galactic energy also. Aquarius is alien, galactic, world, off-planet things. And then we've got Mars conjuncting Pluto at 23 degrees Capricorn. Remember, Mars is moving faster than Venus, so it hits Pluto first right now. Then within hours, Venus hits Pluto. So you've got Mars coming in and hitting Pluto. When Mars hits Pluto, that's the god of war meets the god of the underworld. That's aggression. That's like something transformed with aggression, okay? Then you've got Venus conjuncting Pluto. What is that? What do we truly value? What Pluto comes in to transform something to show us what is valuable to us. How do we want to be valuable to the world, right? We talked about that a lot when Venus was retrograde. This is the exact spot that she's hitting again for the third time, final, during that retrograde period, because this is where she started. She's no longer in retrograde. She's now moving forward, but this is the third whammy of the Venus hitting Pluto. Then on March 5th, they all meet together. We've got Mars and Venus hitting Pluto in a triple conjunction on March 5th. So from March 2nd to March 5th, Pluto's really playing. He's that transformation coming in a big way, being hit by the planet of aggression, being hit by the planet of love and value, and then finally all three of them coming get together. It really sounds like that Ukraine and Russia thing, doesn't it? Right? What we were talking about before. So it's going to be really interesting to watch how that plays out, and we're all going to put love there. So the new moon brings us more understanding of what the dynamic has been going on and repeating since 2020. And the reason it does that is because as all this stuff junks up again in what we used to call the Capricorn cluster, you heard me say that all of 2021, now all this stuff jumps up again there between 22 and 27 degrees of Capricorn. And I will tell you that's on my natal Saturn. Has been for the last 2 years. So all this stuff jungles up in there, right? And then as it moves away, we don't have any Pluto transits for a couple of years. So what does that tell me? It tells me that this is the culmination of some energy. It's not over yet because the energy will still be in play for the rest of 2022. But this is now some kind of finality as far as the worst being over, as far as we have a greater understanding of what these last 2 years of energy have been about. This is really, really big, big turning points coming in March, and especially the first week of March. So this is big stuff, let me tell you. This is really big stuff. Then after that March moon, right, that new moon in Pisces, then in a matter of hours after that moon, the moon conjuncts Jupiter. What happens when a planet conjuncts Jupiter? Jupiter is the expander, it's the amplifier. Jupiter is the biggest planet, it makes everything bigger and more amplified, whatever the energy is. So all that stuff that's happening around the new moon, all those planets hitting Pluto, within hours the moon hits Jupiter. So it just gets expanded more and more and more. So this is going to be quite a week. And it could also be the expansion of something good if this plays out for you in rewards, so it could be good energy. Pluto does reward us after a transformation. But what I will tell you is that we are definitely in for some bigger understanding. It's not going to come easily. I have a call coming in. Just hold on 1 second. But in the end, it will bring us the gold that we've been looking for in some way or another, whether that's in a raising of consciousness, especially as we approach that April 12th date, or if it's in the release and crumbling of something that had to die in order for us to have a clear path. It's like we're on this journey, this highway of life, right? We're on this journey to soul expansion. And there's like an avalanche came and put a bunch of boulders in the way. And now there's another explosion. And it's a little bit tough to take, but when we come out of it, that obstruction is no longer in our way. That's the only way I can explain it. And if you can keep your mind focused on positivity and love, you'll see that beautiful gold in the depth of digging. We're digging for gold. We're still in the muck and the dust, but we're digging for the gold that's going to be there. Really, really believe that. Just got to hang on a little bit longer. And then also on March 5th, when we have that triple conjunction, the sun also aligns with, I believe, Mercury. So I believe that's what it is. Yeah, the sun's in Pisces. Yeah. So all this happens. And the reason why I say this is a culmination of the energy is because all this stuff that's happening in Capricorn with the Pluto, conjunctions with Venus and Mars and Pluto all going in there, all of that is happening in the same exact degree in the zodiac where Saturn and Pluto conjuncted in January of 2020, when this all got kicked off. All got kicked off. So this is really an interesting time. And how it's going to play out in your chart is look at your Pisces houses and look at your Capricorn areas. And of course Aquarius too, because that's where we have the conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune coming, or rather Saturn and Mercury coming in. So really a lot of stuff going on. But I just want you to know that all these planets that have lined up that caused, every time they lined up, they caused some kind of a crisis. But I also believe that every crisis that we had, including COVID, and my condolences to anyone who's been very ill or had a loss, but as a collective, a lot of that energy really brought us to a higher place. How many of us went home for a year or months and from that took on a new valuation of our life and a different consciousness, a different perception? Maybe we're simpler and kinder, or maybe we just have more observer to our mechanism now. When we go someplace and we don't react, we respond. So after this first week of March, no planets will aspect Pluto for a few years. And that's why I think this is Pluto's final push. This is Pluto's final, I'm going to tell them how to get it right. Might hurt a little bit, but after this, if they don't get it, I give up for a while. So this is the universe really trying to show us where our life is aligned with and what we are supposed to be doing with our life. And I think all of us know what that is. We think we don't, but we do. And I think that this is a reality check and that it has something to do with, a lot to do with communication. I think this particular energy for this month has a lot to do with the way we communicate, how we communicate, what we value as far as communication goes. And I also believe that it can be something about almost like when Pluto gets a rest, right? It's been touched and aspected so much for the last couple of years. And now when it starts to get a rest, I think that we're going to be able to see much more clearly. I really do. So it's almost like we finally get a blank page. We haven't had a blank page for a really long time. And now with that blank page, we can write in whatever the heck we want. And we're writing from a much higher level of consciousness than when we started in 2020. And so although this energy isn't over yet, we have another Saturn-Uranus square in the fall, right around the election time. You can't make this stuff up. It's a roadmap to our life up there in the sky, So questions, comments for the rest of the month. On the 13th, the sun in Pisces also crosses Jupiter. So on March 13th, we're going to see something expanded again that the sun's been working on for us. In Pisces, that could be communication. Great time to meditate. March 9th, Mercury does that. It moves into Pisces and crosses over Neptune. So when Mercury does that around March 9th, that's a great time for spiritual communication. If you're going to go for a reading or do a reading on somebody or have any kind of a service or a ritual, March 9th is amazing for that. And then on March 20th, Jupiter and Neptune start to really kind of move together towards that conjunction of April 12th. And so when Mercury crosses over Neptune on the 23rd, and it crosses over Jupiter on the 20th of March. So the 20th and 23rd of March, if you're writing that down, those would be days that are going to give you a glimpse into that April 12th energy and what's going to happen for you around that time. Because Mercury is moving across Neptune and then across Jupiter between the 20th and 23rd. And that's giving you a glimpse of what it's going to be like when Jupiter and Neptune come together, because Mercury, being the planet of communication, when it flies over those two, will take the message out and give it to us a little bit, and in a way to give us a little bit of preparation for April 12th, if that makes sense to you guys, and I hope it does. And so then we do have a full moon in Virgo on March 18th. That's going to be a tough full moon, I'm sorry to say. But we can use that actually to get things done. Virgo is a very industrious earth sign, so that might be a time when you want to stay close to home. It'd be a great time to clean out your closets, organize things, organize your home office, because at that time we're going to feel like we're bombarded with a lot of energy. Mercury and Jupiter meet Neptune in Pisces. I'm sorry, Virgo. The Virgo moon is opposing Mercury, Jupiter, and Neptune in Pisces, which are all meeting up there. So that's March 18th. So when that happens, it's almost going to make us feel like too much energy, too much peopling. It's a really good time to stay home, be a little introspective, clean out the closets. If there's something you've been putting off to do at home, kind of close the front door and be a little contemplative around that March 18th time. And then we have some other energy that comes in, again, it's just going to be the old versus new, blah, 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 same old thing that we've had for 2 years. And then, of course, March 20th is the first day of spring. Mercury lines up with Jupiter, and that also is when we start that March 20th to March 23rd time period that will foreshadow what's going to happen April 12th. So what I will tell you, the beginning of April, that we have a new moon, which is like right on the last day of March, beginning of April, and that brings a lot of new focus energy in. April is like a whole new ball game, but this month is the turning point. And this month is the turning point where, if you're making like a big stew, say, or a soup, right? There's always that turning point when it really starts to simmer and really starts to boil, and you can see it's really turning into something you want to eat, right? You want something that's really there. But until that, it's been simmering, and it's kind of annoying because you're hungry and you can't really eat it yet. Maybe the vegetables are still raw, and it keeps, overheating, and you keep having to play with the flame under it. That's what we're going through, right? And then when we get to April, it's soup. So, going to be a little bit of a tough month. This whole year is very volatile and up and down, but nothing like we've experienced in 2020, 2022, because the changes and the transformations that happened this year are really going to bring us into a space where we know what we're doing. We know what we want to do. We know how we want to create our future. It's a beautiful, beautiful time to do vision boards, especially with Neptune energy and Jupiter energy in Pisces. You're going to connect to your dreams, your hopes, your wishes. Just really stay connected. That is the way to get through this next 30 days. Stay connected into yourself, into spirit, go to prayer circles, go to Reiki circles, go get a massage, get a healing, do things that bring you back into yourself so that you are the authority in your life. Because there's going to be a lot of externals that come in that want to be your authority, and you've got to stay really, really grounded. So that's the March astrology. So Christine's a Gemini. Again, you're ruled by Mercury, so you may feel a little bombarded towards that middle, end of month when we've got Mercury really flying through Pisces and hitting that Neptune and that Jupiter energy. So for all of you out there who are Geminis and ruled by Mercury, you're probably going to feel a lot of noise, and I know you have tinnitus, Christine, but this is a noisy month. It feels noisy. It feels busy. But stay in reality, stay grounded, because I think you're going to see that it's really not as busy as the perception feels, as the energy feels. All right. Yeah, and you will feel it now because we're coming on that new moon, and Mercury's going to be playing a lot, this month. So what I would say is if you can listen to calming music that kind of distracts a little bit, things like that. And Suzanne, March birthday, you're Pisces. There you go. Oh, I love you too, Christine. Gina's on there. Hey, Gina, how are you doing? All is well with me. Had a rough week last week. This one's much better. Elaine, I said, put lead in her pockets. She thought that was funny. Okay, I'm just reading my comments. You guys can see the comments too if you are on Facebook. So a lot of us are feeling jittery now. That's because we just have so many planetary transits going. It's almost like, I call it rabbititis. If you ever remember the Bugs Bunny cartoons, like he's going this way, and they're going this way, and this way, and this way, and this way, and it's like this. And that's how the energy feels right now to me. So what I do when that happens is I close my door, and I write, and I meditate, and I go to work, and and when I say go to work, I mean my normal earthbound job with real estate and training agents and creating content and trying to coach people. And I really hyper focus on those things. And I hyper focus on the doing of the day, not in a busy way, but just in like, what does my hand need to be on right now? Okay, let me get this done. Okay, that's good. Let me get this done now. And that's how I try to, it's like my little antidote for this energy. Because otherwise, if you really go into the energy too much, it makes you feel like you're speeded up and on woo woo. So my advice would be to focus on one task at a time. Wherever your hands need to be, that's what they need to be on, and you focus on that. Maybe it's brushing your dog, and then you completely focus and be present in that moment. Maybe it's making a delicious meal for your family or your loved one. Maybe it's going shoe shopping. Maybe it's walking around the block. Maybe it's reading a passage in a book. But whatever it is, really try to focus, hyper focus on that, and bring your energy down into it. And get lost in it for a little while if you have to. It's a fabulous time to get lost in things with Neptune and Jupiter and Pisces, that's for sure. You can get lost in astral travel. You can get lost in astrology. You can get lost in prayer. You can get lost in a loved one. It's a beautiful time for connection. So don't let the outside world spoil that for you, because I think that's what we do a lot. All right. So now I'm going to ask a favor of all of you, if you haven't already, if you can go subscribe to my YouTube channel, because my goal is to be able to do lives over there, and I need 1,000 people. And also, if anybody wants a reading or anything, you know where to find me. And on this new moon, actually, it's the day of the new moon, Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock, I'm going to be doing a Zoom, just a community Zoom. We all can talk and see how we're feeling and give each other advice, like a little life group kind of a vibe. So if any of you are feeling like you want to bring some of your triumphs or challenges to a group and get by with a little help from some friends, you can tune in on Zoom. I have an event up on Facebook now. And if you don't have that event, just PM me and I'll send you the Zoom link. And I think that's our show for tonight. If anybody has any comments they want to make, the reason why I actually did the Zoom is because I feel like there is so much anxiety-provoking energy in the world, and I feel like one of the beautiful things when that happens is to have connection. Seems to really bring us all down and remind us of who we are and where we really want to be. So Gina is saying that she has a big decision to make at the end of April, and she can't stop the anxiety. What I would do, Gina, this is just a little piece of advice that worked for me. It might work for you. Maybe you've already done it. Get out a piece of paper and a pen or a little journal book and start writing about it. Write about every scenario, everything. Just get it out of your head and onto the paper. And what I would do is definitely pay attention to March 20th to 23rd and the energy you're feeling then, because that's going to be a precursor for that April 12th energy coming in. And I have a feeling intuitively that that's going to be some kind of a shift for you regarding this decision. There will be more information coming to you between now and then. But try the journaling trick, because I know for me, I ruminate about things. And once I journal about them, I don't anymore. It's like I get it out from my head and onto the paper, and it makes more logical sense. So, try that. Maybe you've already tried it, but that might help you. I try to be love, Joanne, but I'm really not. I was having a little bit of I'm just going to open up to you guys because I know, that's what we do, right? That's how we connect with each other. So today I had a very up and down day, and I'm usually, in a pretty good mood. And today I just felt really frustrated towards the end of the day, because sometimes I feel like I work really hard at things and I don't see a good result from them. And by good result, I don't mean that they're not good or they're not up to par. I just mean that sometimes we feel that, I feel that I work so hard to try and help people or put out a message that I think can help the collective, and then it's overlooked. And I have to let go of that. And this is anyone out there who feels the same, because that's not what it's about. There may be one person in some far corner of the earth that heard something and it has elevated them in some way. I'm sure there were people that I heard and spoke to me at certain times and just said a word or a phrase or a hand on my shoulder at a moment in my life, and they never knew what an impact that made on me. So, this really is my life work. Even though I have an earthbound job, I actually try to bring this energy into it. And there were so many people that gave me a hand up and helped me in my life. Someday I'll tell my story to all of you, which I don't know if you're ready for. But, but I want to be that person for other people. And it's not an ego thing. It's just that I love to see people shift the way I shifted in my life, because I think that's really the miracle of all of us. And sometimes you have those days when you don't see that anymore and things are really kind of drudgy and all the people are complaining and you only get the bad stuff and you kind of get a little, your light starts to dim a little bit. So I just have to remember that there's love all over the world and that we don't have to see it, taste it, feel it to know it's there. Love is a force out in the ethers, even when we don't see it. And I know that, and I've experienced that so much in my life. So, yeah, today I just got a little down because I forgot that for a few minutes. But all of you will remind me just by being in the soul space with me. So, thank you so much. I am actually writing my story right now, Mary Perez. But it actually started as something completely different than what it's ending up for. So, I don't think I'm writing the book. I actually think Spirit is writing the darn book. So, we'll see how that goes. So thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in. I love each and every one of you. I'll be back next Monday at 7 o'clock in the Soul Space. And the following week after that, we've got John Vasallo joining me in the Soul Space. And he's going to talk to you guys all about how to balance your chakras with meditation and massage and some other really great holistic things. So thanks so much. You guys know where to find me. Zencuda Soul Space on Facebook, Zencuda Official on Instagram. And of course, my YouTube channel, zencuda.com. And join me in the Zoom on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. I'd love to see all your faces. Okay? Thanks so much. I'll talk to you guys soon. Monday at 7 o'clock right here. Bye bye.